All right, let's now get to the poll that so many of you emailed me about over the weekend and said, David, this is the poll. You have to look at this poll because it is shocking, if true, in terms of what it means for the future of the election. There was an Ipsos Reuters poll which found that if Donald Trump were to be convicted, only 1 in 5 voters would vote for the guy. Now, we don't know if Trump is going to be convicted, but a number of legal analysts say if you look at all of these 91 charges and you look at how strong and specific and detailed the indictments are in many cases, you have to guess that somewhere in here, there's a conviction coming. And did I do that thing where I say indictment instead of conviction? If I did, we're talking about conviction. He's already been indicted. You have to assume there's a conviction coming somewhere. Now, will it be before November? That's a different question. Some of the trials not scheduled to start until the second half of this year. We may not know the answer to that. So here we have the polling data. If all other things were equal, would you vote for Trump in 24 if he is convicted of a felony crime by a jury? Overall, 20% say they would vote for a convicted Trump. 58% say they would not. 20% don't know. Okay. Among Democrats, only 3% of Democrats would vote for Trump if convicted. 43% of Republicans would vote for Trump if convicted, and 14% of independents would vote for Trump if convicted. That's really bad. There's also a very interesting second question, which is about prison time, which says, would you vote Trump in 24 if he is serving time in prison? Now, again, the likelihood that even if convicted and even if sentenced to prison, the sentencing and Trump serving the sentence would start before November's election, so unlikely, but that's okay. We'll still look at the question as asked. 18% of all voters would vote Trump if he is sitting in a prison cell. Now, there's a couple of interesting things to think about. When you look at that 18 to 20, 20% would vote Trump if convicted, 18% would vote for Trump while serving prison time. That 18 to 20% seems to be what we would call the super hardcore MAGA base. It doesn't matter. You could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and they would still vote for you crowd. It seems like it's somewhere in there around 1/5 of the total electorate. This overall is very bad news for Donald Trump. Now, there are other polls with slightly different results about this, but it is a very potentially bad sign for Donald Trump that if any conviction happens, he likely loses somewhere between 60 and 80% of the total electorate. Does this mean there's anything different that he can do? I think he believes if he becomes president, he can deal with his legal problems. But the question here is, how does he deal with his legal problems in order to not have that become an obstacle for becoming president of the United States? The question, what is the truly hardcore base for Trump, where it's no matter what they're voting for him? It seems to be 20%, 18 to 20%. And that is a really scary number.